Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. Today is Friday, September the 8th, 2023. Today I'm privileged to have Sherra Scott with Sandhill Shooting Sports with us as our guest speaker. How are you doing, Sherra?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you doing this. So we're going to jump right into this, if you don't mind. And I'm going to get you to introduce yourself and talk about your gun industry memberships and leadership roles in different organizations.
Okay. My name is Sherra Scott. I am co-owner of Sandhill Shooting Sports in Lugoff, South Carolina. We are a firearms retailer, outdoor shooting range for rifle, pistol, and static shotgun, no clays or anything. And we do firearms training as well. I am an NRA certified instructor in pistol, rifle, shotgun, home firearm safety, personal protection in the home, personal protection outside the home, defensive pistol, concealed carry, refuse to be a victim. I'm a chief range safety officer. I am a SLED CWP instructor, and I am a complete combatant certified image-based decisional drills instructor as well. I am South Carolina chapter leader and Kershaw County chapter leader for Armed Women of America shooting groups. And let's see, what else? I am a past president and current board member for South Carolina Carry. And I'm sure there's something else I'm missing.
Man, that's a mouthful. How do you have time to do anything? You're very busy.
I am. I'm a glutton for punishment, so.
That's okay. It'll keep you young. You already mentioned Sandhill Shooting Sports, but can you tell us a little bit more about the different classes you offer there? I know you got a steel challenge and several different types of vendors that show up for suppressors and things like that. Tell my listeners a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we started out as just outdoor shooting range and doing concealed carry classes first. After a little while, we started adding different types of classes as demand started. We started doing 3-gun, which we don't do anymore because the popularity just isn't there to do 3-gun matches. But we do USPSA pistol matches and steel challenge matches out here. We alternate months. 1 month we do USPSA, 1 month we do steel challenge. We have basic pistol classes, basic rifle classes. I do some defensive. We do some defensive pistol classes. We've got a rifle zeroing class coming up. It's going to be taught by one of my staff members. He's former Special Forces, and he was a weapons sergeant. He did 24 or 26, I think 26 years maybe in the Army, and all but basically basic training. He was in Special Forces, so so he knows his stuff when it comes to guns. Let's see, what else? I have a retired Secret Service agent that helps. He works out here, and he also does firearms classes for us. Does private instruction, and got a bunch, like basically everybody. My daughter and one high school kid that comes helps do trash. Everybody's either former or current military or law enforcement. So we got a lot of firearms experience out here at the range.
That's pretty impressive. It's very important too. Safety is a huge issue. Not in that it's an issue at your range, but in that it's a very important thing to, gun safety and the 4 rules and all that. And it's good to know that y'all have people that are subject matter experts when it comes to that. Tell us about. Do y'all have IDPA sessions out there? Matches?
We do not.
Okay.
We don't have IDPA. We hadn't had a lot of people ask for that, and there is one about a half hour away that they do IDPA, but it's just not something that we don't really have the time because we have to shut down the range to use the entire range. And we can't really do that on a Saturday. So all of our matches are on Sunday mornings before we open. And we're usually done and over with by 1 when we open on Sundays. So, and we can only do, we can only do so much before we get burnt out.
Oh, that's understandable for sure. Hey, so why don't you go grab the Sandhill Shooting Sports mascot? Is he around?
Second, let's see.
Sherra has a kitty cat that's I can't even say his name. It's got this long, ridiculous name, but I think he's got a Facebook account and Instagram.
He has a rank. So here
there
he
is. And what's his name?
Lance Corporal Chesty McBoomstick. So he is our range cat.
Oh, he is so cute. Oh my God. That's funny.
He is spoiled rotten. The staff and the customers spoil him completely. We don't have a Facebook for him, but he does have an Instagram.
Right.
And he does occasionally make appearances on our Facebook page, but I don't want to overwhelm a gun page with cat pictures all the time and cat videos. So I made him his own Instagram so that I can just do cat stuff. And he occasionally will do a TikTok with him, but he's spoiled rotten, absolutely spoiled rotten.
So you mentioned that you're a former president of South Carolina Carry, and you're now a board member. And I know you've been very busy and involved with the constitutional carry efforts that South Carolina Carry has been involved with. And you want to talk? Can you talk to the audience about all the different things that you've? I know you've done a lot of stuff, but can you give a broad overview of the things that you've been doing in the last couple of years?
Oh goodness. Well, we've been trying to get constitutional carry passed for several years. Prior to that, we were pushing for open carry because that was something that we did not have the option to do. So just going to the House and Senate Judiciary Committee hearings and going to the general sessions to kind of sit in. We can't speak during general session, but we can speak during the committee hearings. Going and speaking to those. I remember the very first one I did to speak when we got restaurant carry passed, where we could carry in a restaurant that served alcohol. I was the only woman who spoke for the bill to be able to carry in a restaurant while we were not drinking. So I was the only woman that spoke for it. All the other women that spoke were against the bill. And when I saw that, I knew I needed to get more involved. And, so I just made sure that I try to go to as many of the gun-related hearings that I can. And we did finally get open carry passed last year, and we came close to getting constitutional carry passed, but we're still working on it.
So I know when you're going to these meetings, Moms Demand Action and their red T-shirts are filling the
I know
the halls, right?
I happen to be wearing red today, but it's Red Friday.
Right.
So I wear
you don't have the white lettering
Friday.
and it doesn't say Moms Demand Action on it either.
No, it's this side, Sandhill Shooting Sports, and
there you go.
It's because it's Red Friday, and I've been wearing red on Fridays for many years too. And red stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. So it's to make sure that we don't forget the troops that are overseas. So that's what Red Friday is. That's why I'm wearing red today, not Moms Demand Action.
Well, I would, knowing you like I do, I would imagine that if your shirt said "Moms Demands Action," I'm sure it would be Second Amendment related and gun rights related, and
yeah.
Can we speak?
It would be Moms Demand single action or double action or
Right, right. So having gone to these committee hearings and stuff um, in Columbia, can you speak to the types of people that are showing up and the importance of legal gun owners um, getting more engaged with this stuff?
Absolutely. There are always a few firearms owners that go speak at these committee hearings and at public events, but the vast majority, and I would say probably at least 75% of the people that show up to speak at these are against anything liberty minded. They are for more restrictions on firearms. You know, it's generally the Moms Demand Action crowd, Bloomberg, Everytown for firearm safety or gun safety or whatever they're calling themselves, the Bloomberg back groups. And it's always the same handful of people from the gun side, the firearm side that are speaking. There's usually me. I know Tommy Dimsdale from Palmetto Gun Rights. He's
Right,
usually there. Occasionally, the NRA guys there, but we had a problem having an NRA representative in South Carolina, so sometimes he's there. And then occasionally another one or two people that have heard about it and who decide to show up, but we really don't get that many pro liberty minded people that come to speak for our gun rights, and in particular females and minorities. We do not have very many females or minorities that come out and speak for our self-defense rights, and that's very, very sad because we need to speak up more to show the powers that be, and not even the powers that be, they're our civil servants, they are supposed to be serving us, that the firearms community is not middle-aged white guys. We come from every race, creed, religion, gender, all of the above. Yeah.
Well, you're not kidding there.
Yeah, I know. Come hang out here on a Saturday at the range and you'll see
I'm sure.
everything. Like, we have transgenders that come out here. Some you know are transgender, some you don't. The only reason I know is because I see their driver's license. But it's not my place to say anything, so I don't. I'm just like, okay, cool, go have fun. You know, you do you. We have every race, every nationality, all types of religions. We've had people come out that have Bernie Sanders stickers on their cars. I mean, we've had a
no way. That can't be true.
The only thing I promise you, I promise you. But the only thing we really care about out here is, are you interested in firearms and doing it safely? We don't care about anything else.
Right. You know, I believe that anybody that's a legal gun owner has the inalienable right to self-defense and to carry a firearm and hopefully train with it so that they can hit what they're shooting at.
Absolutely, that's the only gun control I care about.
Right.
What you aim at.
I know that the president of the Sheriff's Association is always at all of these public hearings, and he only wants law enforcement and the military to be able to carry firearms out in public. And which is
kind of laughable if you are in the gun industry and you have seen and been around the majority of law enforcement and military. The vast majority of them don't know their elbow from a trigger.
Right. So. And then you got the medical professionals, doctors and whatnot that show up and they're crying about gun violence, and I understand that when you're in the emergency room and you're working triage and you see the gunshot wounds come in, you see not only adults but children that get injured because of
It's heartbreaking.
yeah, and it's some of that stuff is some of it's self-inflicted. Some of it's kids are finding loaded guns and mom and daddy's nightstand, or it's laying on the coffee table or whatever, and they think it's a toy, and the next thing you know, one child's pointing a gun at their sibling or whatever, and it goes off, and so they never talk about that when they're talking about gun violence. They don't talk about the lack of responsible gun ownership. Um, so yes, if you're a legal gun owner and you're listening to this podcast, please do everything you can to communicate. I understand that the politicians, legislators in Columbia, they like to have these hearings in the middle of the day when everybody's at work, and life happens. We've got to go to work. We've got to pay our bills, and so I understand that a vast majority of us are just not going to be able to take the day off. If you have PTO time and you can, arrange to be there, please be there if you can. Um, and when you speak intelligently and try to keep the emotion out of it, and just speak about facts. And but you can also write emails to your legislators. Uh, South Carolina Carry, we make an effort to let everybody know uh, the things that are going on in Columbia. If there's a red flag law that they're trying to pass, or if there's any kind of gun control bill that infringes on our Second Amendment rights and liberties, then we let you know about those things. As a matter of fact, Sherra kind of keeps up with that. She's got a spreadsheet that's microprint that I can't even read because there's so much of it. There's so many bills that are pre-filed. But Sherra keeps up with it somehow amongst all the other things that she does. And she posts that online. And we post the names, email addresses, and phone numbers of the legislators that we need to be getting a hold of as legal gun owners, and let them know. Pick up the phone, blow up their voicemail, send them letters, send them postcards, do whatever we can to communicate with them and let them know that, hey, there are legal gun owners and red-blooded American citizens here in South Carolina that moms demand actions. We need to demand action. We need to demand that our legislators, who are supposed to be, as Sherra said, they're supposed to be serving us, not the other way around. They have on the steps of the Capitol every once in a while, one of the pro 2A legislators will have a session on the steps of the Capitol, and I don't know. I think the last time they had something like that, 50 people showed up, maybe. And for South Carolina, that's pitiful. Yeah. I know there's got to be more people, especially in Columbia, that are supporters of the Second Amendment and legal gun owners that should be very interested in this sort of stuff.
And we do understand that it is hard because so many of these things are held during the middle of the day, during the week. They're not held on the weekends. And I'm quite fortunate in that I'm usually not here at the range on Tuesdays when a lot of the sessions are held for the legislative committees. But it's hard, when you're a teacher and you have to be at school, you work in an office, you've got, an 8 to 5 job, or, you're working shift work at a factory or a distribution center, wherever it is that you're working, hospital, cop, whatever, you can't just take off in the middle of the day. And, sadly, a lot of the moms demand action are either stay-at-home moms, or there's a lot of retired women. I'll see a lot of retirees out there. And it would be great, if we could get our stay-at-home moms or, to come out while the kids are at school to show that, hey, I want to be able to protect myself and my family with the most effective tool available to me. And it should be my right to do so. It's hard. It really is hard because you don't always know how long these committee meetings are going to last. I've been in some that were 15 minutes, and then I've sat in others that just droned on for 5 hours. So it's hard.
Right. Hey, Sherra, can you talk to the audience about the self-defense mindset? I mean, I know you're really into the gun industry and Second Amendment, and you're a firearms instructor and all of that. And I've got articles I've written about having a personal self-defense and family self-defense plan. Can you speak to? I know I'm kind of catching you sideways on this, but can you talk to the self-defense mindset about the tools that we as human beings have at our disposal to protect oneself or our families?
Yeah, I am a big proponent of having more than one way to protect yourself and thinking through scenarios as often as possible to figure out what you would do if XYZ happened. To make sure that you have those tools available to you and that you know how to use them. Like, for instance, yes, I'm a big proponent of being able to carry a firearm for personal protection, but I also carry a knife. I also carry a flashlight. I also carry pepper spray. So I don't just rely on one thing. I can also use my words or body language. I recently, and I know you know this, but at almost 50 years old, I recently took up jujitsu. So I am training to learn how to protect myself physically, or at least help get myself away from a situation, without a firearm, because not every single situation is the answer going to be firearm. So understanding, what different levels of threat need different levels of defense, training for that, figuring out for yourself what you are comfortable with. Not everyone is going to be comfortable carrying a firearm, and that's okay. But those of us who are, you need to be training with it. You need to be training for specific, for different scenarios. Great, you carry a gun. What about when you go to your kid's school? You can't carry it in there. You go to the doctor's office. You can't carry it in there. So what are you going to do? What are your other options? And, so like the image-based decisional drills class that I teach, that's one of the things that, you've got multiple different options to make that first decision on what do you do. And, do you use a flashlight? Do you call 911 first? Do you, is it something that you have to do medical? Are you going to have to do some first aid for someone? Because not every emergency, again, calls for a gun. Sometimes it's just pepper spray. Like, there's just so many different options, and you need to be able to think through them. And I do when I used to be a corrections officer, and my training officer had us play the what if game all the time. Well, what if this person does this action? Well, what if you're in this place instead of this place? What if it happens at your home? What if this happens at Walmart or Kroger? What if you're in the front of the store? What if you're in the back of the store? What if you're 3 aisles over? Different scenarios are going to call for different actions. Are you near the exit? Are you not near the exit? So all these different scenarios that you should be walking yourself through on a regular basis. Do you know where all your exits are? When you go to a store, when you go to a restaurant, at your doctor's office, do you know how to get out safely? Just so many different things to think about with your mindset. If you're not comfortable carrying peppers, if you're not comfortable carrying a firearm, if you are comfortable, you are like the idea of it, but you have not trained and you are not proficient, if you can't even draw it out of a holster without fumbling, then you probably shouldn't be carrying a firearm, because it could be more of a detriment. Have you trained with pepper spray? Do you understand how pepper spray works? Do you understand where to spray what target on the body to spray. Where do you, because depending on the type of pepper spray, and there are different kinds, do you spray it, just anywhere in the face? Do you spray it in the eyes? Do you spray it above the eyes? So many different things that you have to think about. Is it windy outside? Are you inside? Are you in an enclosed area? Have you ever been exposed to pepper spray to know how you react to it if any gets on you during your defense? So there's just so many things that go into mindset for self-defense that 99.9% of people don't even think about.
Right. So, I always like to tell people the most important tool that we have in our arsenal for self-defense is our brain. That's what we use to make educated decisions. And situational awareness is important. And when you're out in public, staring at your iPad or your smartphone while you're walking from your car to the store is probably not a good idea. I hope y'all can't hear my dog barking, but the trash man's finally arriving to take our trash, and so that's probably one of my labs that is not too happy about it. But yes, having a non-lethal weapon that you can use, like a flashlight with a bezel in the front where you can use pressure points and use it as a striking tool. The whole
you don't even have to do that. I mean, just shining that in someone's eyes, right, just to blind them temporarily so you can get away.
Shining the light, but I mean, if they're on you and you need to get them off of you quick, I mean, you can use it as a striking tool and hit some pressure points. And the last resort is using deadly force, because once you use deadly force, then you get to enjoy what happens in the legal system. So you also have to be thinking, when you're thinking about these scenarios and how you're going to handle yourself, how you're going to try to exit the danger. I mean, obviously, if you get backed into a corner and you're in danger of serious bodily injury and or death, South Carolina gun law provides us with the right and ability to use deadly force if we need to. When it comes down to your life or their life, obviously you're going to want to protect your life and the life of your family and your loved ones. But it's always very good to get training in non-lethal weapons, like you said, pepper spray, knife, what have you. So that's all good stuff, and I appreciate you talking about that. In the time remaining, we have like 11 minutes remaining. Can you talk about women shooters, and if somebody's listening to this podcast and they're a homeschooler, or they're a work at home mom, or just a parent, or whatever it is they may be, and they're wondering about, hey, should I get a weapon? Should I get training? Or if they're just afraid of it, or they have some fears. Can you talk about some of the things that prospective women shooters might be thinking about or facing?
Yeah, it's perfectly normal to be afraid or apprehensive of firearms. It is not a normal human. I'm trying to think. My brain has gone dead. It's not normal for humans to want to hold something in their hand that literally is exploding, because that's what's happening. Is it's a tiny little explosion that happens inside the cartridge that makes the bullet come out of the barrel of the gun and go to the target. It's a very loud sound. There is pushback and recoil. It is not a natural thing for us to want to go to that. The normal thing is to want to avoid it. So, it's a good instructor is going to understand that. They're going to understand that, yes, there's some apprehension, but they're also going to have ways to teach you how to overcome that. Sometimes people have had previous trauma. Maybe they have had a violent encounter previously in their life. And so they have some post-traumatic stress associated with that. And there's just so many things that go with it, but we have options here at the range to help ease you into that. If you really are wanting to learn about firearms, we can teach you how they work inside the classroom and never fire a shot. So there's the only shots you would hear is people outside on the range, shooting. You would not be firing shots. We have laser guns that you can learn the aiming and trigger press and grip and stance and all of that without firing live ammunition. We have guns that simulate recoil without actually firing ammunition. So they're not loud. They don't have that big pop. And so we have options out here. We have rifles and pistols that have suppressors on them. So they fire live ammunition, but they have a suppressor, or what some people call a silencer, on them, so they're not as loud. So you don't get that, startle reflex nearly as bad when you fire the shot. So we have different steps and ways to ease you into it, starting with smaller calibers, starting with a 22 instead of, I'm definitely not going to throw a new shooter directly into, a 45 snub nose revolver, because that's just not, not a smart thing to do. I'm going to put them into something more comfortable for them, that they can handle, that fits their hand. I'm not going to put a gun in your hand that you can't reach the controls, to make sure that you can reach the trigger, you can reach the magazine release, you can reach the safety and the slide release. So we try to make sure that if you're renting from us, that it fits you. If you're bringing your own, we kind of work with what we have. But I have had some people that brought a gun that was just completely inappropriate for them. They could not handle it. And we were like, you know what? I'm going to show you how it works, but let's put you in this other one instead, just to make sure you have the basics.
It's very good stuff, Sharon. Thank you for sharing all that with us. And we're running out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and do the conclusion. Thank you for the privilege of your time. And Sherra, thank you for everything that you're doing through the gun industry and through going to all these legislative meetings as we try to get constitutional carry passed, or open carry, in South Carolina. Our podcast is hosted on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Be sure to share our podcast with your Second Amendment friends, family, and coworkers. You can contact us at Liberty Gun Rights Podcast at proton.me. That's Liberty Gun Rights Podcast at proton.me. Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we're going to say goodbye for now.